All right, guys, I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road here. You can see behind me, the roads aren't doing so great. This road I just turned on, it isn't half bad, but we're gonna try to get back to the cabin, and this is maple syrup season, so we'll see what today brings. Hey, you guys, I found where the deer are. Look, right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's another 10 back further in the woods. Pretty cool. We are gonna brave it and try to get back by the cabin. It's good to see that all those little ones made it. We've got a week of ice cold temperatures and a ton of snow that came in. All of a sudden this morning we woke up and it's 35 degrees, I think it is. And it's forecasted that all this week the temperatures are gonna skyrocket, and we're supposed to have temperatures close to 50. And I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but when I woke up, I thought I better hustle up, get up to the cabin, start tapping some trees. We have one time out of the year that we can process maple syrup, and this is that time. So let's go ahead and go in the woods, and I'll show you how we process our maple syrup here at the cabin. I've had certain trees that have been big producers of sap, and I've had some trees that are just big flops. And so when you're getting ready to process, or to get into the process of making your own maple syrup, and you're looking for a good sap tree, I look for trees like this one here. It's pretty heavy around in diameter, and take a look at the top of this tree. It's got a huge canopy, and I can't stress enough, I think the trees that have failed for me are trees that don't have a big canopy. But look at the canopy on this tree. Doesn't look like much right now with all the leaves off, but if you look, there's branches everywhere that are shooting out everywhere. And because I'm in a forest here, I don't have any branches that are really down lower, like in this area here. If you do have a maple tree at your home and you do have branches, big branches that come out on the side of the tree, usually you want to tap right there, because that's going to be a big feed for all the sap coming out. And you can even see last year the staining on this tree. There's a hole that I drilled last year, and even after we pulled our spile out, the tree had just a ton of sap that was coming out. It's healed over, it's plugged itself off. Usually I don't know that this is gospel or anything like that, but this is the way that I do it. I'll usually stay a few inches away, and then I'll vary my next hole either up or down. I don't keep it in line with that, and so far I've been pretty safe about that. And this tree here is about maybe 2 feet in diameter. Usually you want to look for your heavier trees. I've heard variations from different people. Some people say at least 2 feet in diameter. Other people say a foot in diameter. Whatever, it's all over the board, but this is just what I do. There's a couple of different spiles that you can use depending on what method you're going to use to drain the sap out of your trees. I have this spile here that's made by a company called CDL. You can see it has a little hook on here, and this is the open part where the sap comes out, and this wider part is where we're going to tap the tree and hammer this in. And then the other type of spile is like this one, and if you notice, that one does not have the hook on the end of it. This is one that's meant to put tubing on it, and then you could run your sap into like a 5-gallon bucket or whatever container you have. If you do use the bags, the same company makes these sack holders, I think they call them, and it's 2-piece. It comes with an inner piece that you can go ahead and fold your bag over. You put it through the center, and then you just fold the bag. I maybe go about 1.5 inches down through the bag, fold it over the rim, and once it's folded over like that, you're ready to go. All that you do is slide the bag gently inside here. You don't want to rip it or anything, and then just the sheer weight of the sap is going to straighten out this bag and allow everything to to drain down inside. And then when you have this style method, they've got a hole here and you're using that first spile that I showed you, you're going to want to make sure that the spile goes inside there and hooks on that hole. 2 years ago when I first started doing this, I had a neighbor came over. He saw all these blue bags hanging around my woods and he came to investigate. He took one off, he looked at it, wow, that's really cool, and he put it back on like this, and the bag fell off, or one of them fell off. The other one he hooked on, I think backwards. I think it was actually like this, and it didn't collect any of the sap. So it sounds pretty simple, but I do feel the need to explain it because there actually are people out there that probably couldn't figure that out. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill this tree here, and then once I drill it, we'll hang this one up. And I don't know how many more I'll show you because it's real repetitive, and I want this video to stay somewhat interesting. And yeah, we'll go from there. So while I'm thinking of it, one of the big questions that I get asked too, I'm not sure if I covered this earlier when we were talking about, you know, how I put my collection system together, but people ask, well, Carl, how do you know when it's time to go ahead and collect your sap? For me, it's always been, you know, you're ready to collect sap when it's freezing at night, but it's warm during the days. So anytime, you know, you're technically like 32, 33, 34 degrees and warmer during the day, and it's freezing at night, that's a time when this tree is going to start sucking up all the nutrients from the ground and passing it up, getting ready for that spring. And then typically for me, I don't know that it's gospel, but because I'm in such a heavy maple forest here, I always put the bags on the sunny side of the tree. One thing that we've noticed is the earlier sap that you can collect in the spring is typically blonde color sap, and we just love the taste of that blonde colored sap. If you get a little bit later in the season, it's more of an amber color, and that has kind of almost like a molasses taste to it. And for whatever reason, I love both. But, you know, the wife and kids, sometimes it's a little bit different story. They prefer the blonde. And so we go ahead and we make use of this early season like this. So other parts of the country, I know they've already been tapping their trees for a while. But up here in the north, you know, you think of it, we're higher here than a lot of the bigger Canadian towns are. You know, it stays cold here for a long time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we'll go ahead and we'll hang the rest of these bags. Today, I think I'm only going to start out with maybe about 10 bags or so. I like to start out easy just to see where the season is. I don't want to put a lot of effort into hanging these bags and stuff if the trees aren't ready for it. So I'll start out with 10, and we'll see what happens, and then from there we'll move forward. Are you guys seeing this? I gotta admit, this is 2 weeks after I put the taps in the trees, and that came up last week. I was so discouraged. I only had 10 gallons of sap, and let me grab the camera and show you what we got going on. I've got a total of 14 bags out here. I wanted to keep it somewhat small this year, but every single bag is bursting at the seams. Check this out. My cup runneth over. If you look at the bottom, every single bag is just dripping with sap. And you can see you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's just in this little stretch of woods. I've got a total of, I said 14, I believe it is. every single one is full to the brim. So as you can guess, running, you know, a large amount of sap can take a long time. So what I did to cut my time in half is, for those of you that seen this last year, it's just a review, but this is actually a reverse osmosis machine. And in this blue hose, it's spitting out pure water right there. And over here in this red hose, we are spitting out the good stuff that has all the things in it to make maple syrup. So the reverse osmosis, basically in a nutshell, separates the water out from the good stuff. So after our sap goes through the reverse osmosis, then it comes back here in the backyard where I've made my own evaporator. Once this gets boiled down, then we will take it to the house to finish it. I'm really excited. We're making good time. Now that we're done boiling this on the outdoor evaporator, I bring it into the house. On my pans when I'm evaporating, I have roughly about 2.5 gallon mark on the pans, so that I know, like this year, I'm processing right now for about 54 gallons of sap, and you know that the ratio of sap to syrup is about 40-1. So I keep a little bit extra water in it, bring it in here, and then slowly evaporate the final water off by just using the stove. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll let this heat up, and I'll be back in a minute. We're just going to watch it for a while now. It's getting close to that 219 degree mark. You can see I have a thermometer that's in there permanent right now. And once these bubbles off to the side start going nuts and they become more condensed and you see more bubbles, that's a really good sign that you're right at the edge. Notice the difference now with this boiling. See how I've got all those white milky bubbles at the top where I didn't have that in the last clip? This is your indicator that you are ready to roll. All right, we're gonna put the hydrometer in the flask now. We gave it a couple minutes, and right now that red line, because we're really hot, the top line is for when you have hot syrup. We're right at it here. I'll just lift it a little bit. You see the red line there?
Yeah.
We're right there. So we are ready to go ahead and can this. One of the most frustrating things for me was trying to get all of the maple sand and the impurities out of the maple syrup. And so what I did is I just went ahead and I made my own vacuum filter. I simply used 2 kettles that I got from, I think it was Kmart or Walmart. I left the lid on top of the bottom kettle, and I drilled a whole bunch of holes through it, just in the center. And then with the top kettle, I cut a big hole down the center of it. So that's where the syrup goes through. Off to the side, I tapped in and I have a shop vac hose connected to it. And then off the bottom, I simply put a spigot so that once the syrup gets in here, I can go ahead and fill up the containers as needed just by opening up that ball valve. And then I forget what micron filters these are, but if you go on the internet, everybody has a whole bunch of filters. I've got these 2 extra. I think I'm going to try 2 this year that just simply go down in the center of the kettle, and then when you're ready, you pour your syrup in and just turn on the shop vac, and everything's ready to go. All right, so I'm going to start out with turning the shop vac on, so excuse the noise. But when the shop vac is on, I'm going to quick run over to the stove, get the syrup, pour it in here. It'll go through the filters and should ideally end up in the bottom. All right, and then it's as simple as You just open up your spout, and there goes your filtered syrup. So I just wanted to show you guys, we saved these little ones for the very end, and I wasn't sure how the filtration system was going to work out. I heard great things about it, and I am thrilled. When you look on the bottom of this jar, it's as clear can be. We have absolutely no sediment at all in the syrup. So this syrup this year, this stuff is like picture perfect. I almost hate to give some of it away, but
that's the fun of it.
I think this is the best that we've ever done. And yeah, like Margaret just said, the fun of it is giving away the things that you're able to harvest off your property. A lot of this we'll keep and we'll give to the kids and my mom and such, but it's just a real pleasure, and it's really fulfilling to be able to collect this from the land. So thank you guys for joining us this week on Carl's Off the Grid. I appreciate your support. We'll catch you next time.